what sort of acts can we expect for your Aussie tour? Do you have like a special lineup for us? Are you doing something new? What can we expect?
Um, well, yeah, if you got any videos of kangaroos or koalas making interesting noises, then it's the perfect time. But yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, my show for the most part hasn't really changed. It's a lot of cat songs, dog songs. The A song that we talked about for a long time. Should we play it? Should we not? The eating the dogs, eating the
Oh
cats.
yeah. Yeah.
So the funny thing about that song is, like Trump is such a he's the kind of character that you either love or hate. But
Mm,
whenever we play that song, no matter who's in the room, people just love the song. And I think it's
I think it's
because
funny.
it's also for a great cause.
Yeah.
Um, because I didn't want to make a cent from the song. As soon
Mm,
as something becomes political, I don't want it to be
mm,
monetized, or if it is, I want to make sure that it's going towards a good cause that can, unite people. So
mm.
all the money that's made from that song is going to the SPCA in Springfield, Ohio. Um,
Wow.
Raised over $100,000 for them there, just through people listening to the song and streaming it. So it's amazing how you can take someone like Donald Trump and use it for a force that everyone can get behind. So
I like that. I really like that. So Springfield or Ohio, right? Wow, that's good work, honestly. Yeah, it's interesting what you say. I try and steer away from anything political, really. I've been because look, let me be honest. I'm a South African who moved abroad. Obviously, there was
yeah,
reasons I moved abroad. And every South African that I meet overseas has their reason. This guy
yeah.
was stabbed. This guy was held at gunpoint. This guy
Mm.
was hijacked. My wife just told me we're moving. That's my excuse. So I've got
Fair enough.
nothing that dramatic. But
And just sort of interest, I mean, where in South Africa were you living before?
in Strand.
In Strand.
Strand. Well,
Yeah.
I grew up in Namaqualand, believe it or not, in a
Okay.
little town called Bitterfontein, which is yeah, it's the middle of nowhere. But then we moved in and out of Cape Town a few times. Ended
I
up
think I remember actually reading an Afrikaans story that we had to do a comprehension on about
hmm,
Bitterfontein. Is it
yes,
called Bitterfontein
yes.
because of the water?
I don't know.
Or am I thinking
Oh
of
yeah,
a
yes,
different place?
fuck. Yeah, it's sort of brackish water. Yeah, because of all the
Yes.
stuff they put in it. Yeah,
Yeah. It's
yeah,
like lime water or something.
that's right. And if the Namaqualand flower train, the Blomme train,
Mm.
that Bitterfontein was the last stop. It went as far as
Yes.
Bitterfontein, and then it would like be parked there for a couple of days, and then everyone would drive out and go watch the flowers and stuff, and then they would sort of. But I ended up working in the Strand and Gordons Bay and those places, and yeah,
Mm.
met my wife, and we lived Somerset West and those there, and then yeah, next thing I know, we're off to the UK. Couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Stepping out of the airport doors at on Heathrow Airport. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so surreal. And there we were.
Must be a lot of mixed feelings,
It was.
bittersweet.
It was. I actually love the UK. The people especially, believe it or not. The weather, as cliche as it sounds, sucks. The thing is, you
Yeah.
on Friday
Well,
afternoon.
I've just come back from the UK and
Yeah,
I experienced the winter, and I'm just glad that I did, to make me realize
you don't want to
how
go.
much I don't want to ever have to move there. It's got
Look,
nothing to do with the people or the food or anything like that, but the weather alone. The cold deeply offends me, and yeah, wherever I live, it needs to be at least 12 degrees in winter.
don't come to Melbourne. This place gets pretty cold as well. We've got nice summer, but like it's summer now and it's like 28 or something. But it's the winters here last about 2 months longer than it does in Cape Town. Sydney is more on par with Cape Town, and then obviously Brisbane is the prime spot. But I mean, right now there, as we speak, there's a massive hurricane on its way to Brisbane. So we're all keeping an eye on that because we all got friends there and so forth. But what I wanted to say earlier was whenever
Yes.
I bump into any South African, it doesn't take long for the conversation to get a little bit negative. Because
Mm,
that's the thing. It's so I'm always sort of steering away from anything political because I'm quickly dragged into it, especially on an interview. It happens where
yes.
someone would want to just rant a little bit, and it's fine. Look, everyone's upset, and but at the end of the day, the point of Oorsee, and that's when my wife and I we were standing in the kitchen 2 years ago, just having this discussion. When we decided we're going to build this app and give South Africans abroad a space where they can connect, and it's no ads, no weird stuff. It's just them with each other. They're worldwide, but they're learning from each other's experiences. See where it's maybe a bit better for a certain South African, depending on personality and so forth. Say, for instance, like I didn't like the UK, was better suited to come to Australia, things like that. And
Yeah.
I've built in loads of tools for them to just like a search in the neighborhood for other people with similar interests and so forth. But again, now I'm starting to advertise the app. But yeah, it was
Go for
supposed to
it.
be supposed to be helping people.
I did a free advert for Toyota, so it's the least you can do.
Was it free? Oh, they did. Oh, well, then they have to
Yeah,
give you
they're not paying me. They've
they have
already paid me.
they have to give you the Spotify rights then to at least get the song out there for the fans. Yeah, but
That's it.
my point is, it's we. I like focusing on the positive and just carry on the tradition. You don't need to live in South Africa to be South African. If you keep the traditions and those things going, and especially put those traditions into your children, despite them growing up in different countries, that is South African in its own. And
Yeah.
people can debate about those things for hours, but don't bring politics into the mix. I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you're right. I mean, as someone who lives here, there is a lot to be negative about at the
Mm.
moment. I try not to be negative, and I think the difference is, whether you choose to be a victim of your circumstance or a victor. And basically, what I'm trying to say is, I'm sure you've all heard of load shedding. I don't know if you left before or after load shedding,
two
started
years.
hitting us.
It just started when we were there. We thought it was really funny. After
Yeah.
2 years after we left, my friends called me from the Strand. They're like, "This is not funny anymore."
Yeah. No, it's not fun, trust me. Especially when you're trying to work and you've made a song that
Oh,
you've been working on for 2 hours and then your song disappears, stuff like that.
yeah.
But anyway, um, you can be a victim of load shedding or you can invest in, solar energy, which is something I've done. You can complain about the radio stations not paying royalties and Samro not paying artists, or you can start a YouTube channel, which is what I've done, and get paid more in a month than what Samro will pay you in your entire life.
There you go.
So
That's a testimony in its own.
so it basically comes down to the fact that if you can state proof your life
Mm.
and and kind of just build a life that doesn't rely on the states, then South Africa is a great place. There's obviously a lot of other existential crises happening at the moment with, these new bills being passed, the Land Expropriation Act,
Mm. Yeah.
where they want to expropriate land with nil compensation. So basically, the state can take your land and offer nothing
Mm.
and justify it by saying, it's for the greater good or some nonsense.
Yeah.
So these are things that obviously worry me a little bit, but as things stand, we still have access to private healthcare. They want to pass, national health insurance as well, which sounds great, but
Mm.
when you're dealing with the ANC government, it's not so great.
Mm.
So if it ever gets to a place where, we have no choice of hospitals or doctors to send our children to, it might become a little bit of a problem
Yeah.
living here. But try not to dwell on that too much. Just do what I can and use my platform to, speak the truth about what's happening here. and hopefully things will change. The spotlight is very much on South Africa at the moment.
Oh yeah.
Uh, there's a spotlight, especially from the US, um, just saying that what we're doing is wrong, and we've got civil rights movements or groups like AfriForum who are lobbying in the States and meeting with members of Congress and just telling them what's going on with land expropriation, the BEE, which is Black Economic Empowerment, the National Health Insurance, and the Bella Bill, which also threatens Afrikaans education. So they're going there and saying, look, these are the laws that they've passed. And basically, I think there's sanctions, big sanctions coming our way. So it's an interesting place to be in at the moment. The spotlight is on us, and we've got a government that seems hell-bent on turning us into like a communist hellhole, pretty much.
Yeah.
But and this all sounds doom and gloom. And what I wanted to my point with all of this
It's a great
is that
topic. It's a great topic.
this is what so this is what expats see,
Hmm.
and they'll say to themselves, I'm so glad we left, because it justifies your decision, and I do think to a large degree it does justify it. If I had to leave and live in Australia or the UK and I saw what was going on in South Africa, I'd probably feel quite relieved that we made the right decision. And it's something I might have to come to terms with. If it becomes an unlivable place, then I'm gonna have to move.
Well,
But as it stands, my lived experience of this country is still great. The weather's great, the food is great, the people are great, and we have the best rugby team in the world as well.
that's true. Give me a second. To kick my light on. Oh, sorry, I was stretching. I have to just edit a little bit. It's a great topic. I've actually, I'm a real fan of what AfriForum does. I'm not up to date with too much things that was going on. I was quite surprised when I heard they were in the US, but I've had the privilege of actually meeting Kali Kriel on a video call. We were discussing Oorsee and all of that, and I've interviewed Suid de Wet, the pretty much the lady in charge of Wêreldwyd. She's on the channel. And she does a lot to help and promote South African events that we do over here, and just
Yeah.
like big picnics that we have. I'm talking about a couple of hundred people in one spot, which is pretty incredible. They help us promote those things and so forth. And as far as I understand, I'm interviewing Ernst Roets as well in the next
Oh, great.
week or two, which is going to be brilliant. And he just spoke. I'm busy watching his Tucker Carlson interview, which I
Yeah.
thought absolutely magnificent. And this is a
He's
completely
got
different
big
topic.
balls.
Roe
He's
is
got
we're going to get in trouble with Roe for going down this rabbit hole, but uh, they always say Tucker Carlson is so far right. There's nothing far right about that interview. It's just
yeah.
facts. They just talking stuff that really happened.
Yeah.
Anyway,
No, look, I don't know enough about Tucker Carlson. I've listened to a couple of his podcasts, and I do think he likes to flirt with conspiracy from time to
man,
time. But
yeah,
depending on who he's interviewing, they'll talk about stuff that maybe is a little bit out there.
mm,
But in terms of this interview, I really think he just wants to know what's going on in South Africa, and Ernst is probably the best person he could have spoken to,
mm,
because he's just got his finger on the pulse. He knows his history, he knows what's going on, and he knew that he was going to get severe backlash for
yeah,
speaking out. Uh, as a white Afrikaans Christian, if you speak out,
yeah,
you've got three targets on your back, because you're white,
yeah.
you're Afrikaans, and you're
And
Christian,
you're
which
Christian.
are like
Yeah,
which is like which is like a mainstream media, bullseye jackpot,
yeah.
because
He's
it's a very strange phenomenon that's been going on for a couple years now. And I think when the media started attacking me, I think that's when I first realized, the media are not who they say they are. Because I used to believe all the stuff that the media told me. I used to believe AfriForum are these racist Afrikaners that, want to bring apartheid back and all this stuff. But this is nothing new. They've been saying this for years.
Mm.
But I never knew, about, different media companies being funded by USAID or the WEF,
Mm.
and, how the people who fund these media agencies have their own agendas and how they can just twist narratives. I
Yeah.
started to understand that when they attacked me because if you know a story and you know what the truth is, and then you see what the media say, it's more often than not, it's going to be completely wrong.
Yeah.
But if you don't know anything differently, you're just going to trust them and go, okay, well, this is the story. But it almost needed to happen to me so that I could go, okay, well, if they're lying about me, then what else are they lying about? And so I went back to things that I'd previously held as true in my mind. Things like AfriForum being racist. And instead of listening to what the news is saying,
Mm.
rather go to their website or to their Twitter accounts and see what they're actually doing.
Mm.
And then you go, what is racist? They're working with black people. I didn't know that
Mm.
they work with people in different communities. Like they're a civil rights organization. What are they talking about? Um, so I actually recently became a member of AfriForum just
Wow.
because I support what they're doing.
Yeah.
Um, there's another Ernst van Sale, who goes by Conscious Caracal, who did an interview on Newsroom Africa, which is a propaganda news
Yeah.
uh, platform that's owned by a woman who has ties to the WEF. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
And they're pure propaganda. And they try to corner Ernst, and they try to, create a gotcha moment
Yeah.
where, they were trying to frame this thing by saying, uh, Trump has cut off aid to South Africa, which means that, people that are living with HIV they're gonna lose their antiretroviral treatments and all this stuff, and it's because of what you guys are doing. And Aaron said, no, 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 no. You're framing this completely wrong. Trump has cut off aid to all countries. This has nothing to do with what we're doing. And he
Mm.
kept trying to push this point that it's AfriForum's fault
Yeah.
by going to the States and telling Trump what's happening, that people now don't have their ARVs, which is completely bizarre. But Adams just completely shut this guy down and made him look like an idiot. A guy called Stephen Grootes, who's an ANC card holding member and someone who I thought was a great journalist in the
Yeah.
past. I don't know if it's just because I was dumb and I couldn't see what he was doing in the past, or if someone started paying him and said this is the narrative you need to push now. So
It's probably money.
so it's amazing. It's amazing that you can listen to this interview and just see, Aaron's completely destroy Stephen. And I think this is the future of media because in the past, a journalist would reach out and ask for your comments, normally in an email or
Mm.
just a recorded thing, but then they would be able to edit and twist your words and do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think anyone who gets approached by mainstream media these days should stay away from those kind of interviews where it becomes a written story where they
Mm.
can change what you've said, and make sure that it's a live recording where you have access to the full recording and you're
Yeah.
speaking face to face with the journalist. There's no other way. Otherwise, they're going to twist your words.
Yeah. Don't worry.
That's
I'm not that. When it comes to my editing, I'm lazy. Yeah. No, that's what I love about these conversations. It's honest. It's brutally honest. And oh gosh, I spoke to people like Steve Hofmeyer and Nas as well. Nas wasn't afraid to actually speak up on what's wrong in the country. And well, we were very sport focused, and
yeah,
he didn't. he didn't hold back in saying how rugby needs to change in order to survive the next, say, 100 years or whatever. Because it right now it's great and everything, but it doesn't mean it's going to be like that in 20 years' time. But that's what
Yeah.
I just love these conversations. There's no rules to it. No one's telling us what to do. We can speak our minds and we can put the truth out there. Well,
Yeah, so
you would roast
so
me.
so speaking about Nas and the Springboks, I think the Springboks have gotten it right
Mm,
in that they've provided the foundations at a grassroots level where they can spot talent from a young age and sort of groom them into becoming Springboks,
mm,
where there is a sort of quota system in place, but it's not the kind of quota system where they say that there must be this amount of black players or colored players or whatever. It's the guys that are there are the best players.
mm. Yeah,
And I think other sports have gotten it wrong in the past. I think the Proteas got too many politics involved, and they suffered greatly for that. But the Springboks somehow got it right.
mm,
When you look at the story of Sia and how he was given the
yeah,
opportunity to become captain
yeah.
and how he just filled into that position. I mean, it's amazing that that kind of stuff can happen.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, I don't know how we're going to fix all our problems here in South Africa. All I know is that this word equality gets thrown around quite a lot,
Mm.
right? Everyone wants equality, but everyone has different ideas of what equality is.
Mm.
And I think what our government is doing is they're wanting equal outcome. They're saying, we don't care what your background is, whatever. We want this percentage of black people in this business, and
Mm.
that's the rule. And what
Yeah.
you end up with is people who are unqualified to fill those positions, but they're there just because they're black,
Mm.
which is not great. What we actually want is equal access to opportunity, where everyone is given at least a fair shot at becoming the best person they can be. They can fulfill their potential by having access to a decent education, even if you're super poor or if you
Mm.
come from a wealthy background. You can all more or less get the same education.
Mm.
And if you're a poor person who got straight A's, and if you're a rich person who got E's, the poor person can get an opportunity to go study and become a doctor,
Based on merit. Based on merit. I totally
based
agree.
on merit, exactly. And it's because they have equal access to the same opportunities, and it's up to them whether they rise to the occasion and make the best of their lives, or they slack and become
Mm.
you know bergies on the streets.
Yeah.
It's
Haven't heard
probably
that word in a while.
it's a lofty goal. It's a lofty goal, but I think it's something worth striving
Yeah.
towards. And it comes down to the government just spending money on the right things instead of
Yeah.
themselves, and that's the problem that we have. But the Springboks, they've gotten it right.
Yeah. And
They invest in the players at grassroots, and yeah, you don't look at any player, you don't look at a Bongi or a Sia and go, oh, they're quota players.
yeah.
They deserve to be there because they've flipping amazing players.
They've proved it. They've proved it in how they play and how they won.